Welcome to episode 8 of the Chi-Town Shoot Wrestling Podcast. I'm Marcin, and joining me in the squared circle are Chris, David, and Andres, and spiritually, Willie Nelson tonight. We're coming at you from the heart of the wrestling world, Chicago, Illinois, bringing you the latest news, hottest takes, and all things WWE and AEW. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Send us your thoughts, your questions, your wildest predictions to Chi-Town Shoot Podcast at gmail.com. We'll tackle your comments in the Chi-Town Shoot mailbag. Without further ado, let's jump into, well, not the latest news. Let's jump into how we've been doing this past week. I know me, Chris, and David, we went to New Japan Pro Wrestling. They had a show at at Wintrust Arena called Windy City Riot, and that was our first, at least my first, New Japan pay-per-view. And that was awesome, I gotta say. How did you guys feel about Windy City Riot?
Damn, that shit was great, dude. Their announcer, he going like fucking going in. It was hype. The bell, the setup, it was great.
It was cool to hear like that old school bell.
Ping.
Oh yeah.
And then like the different rules, like it being confused the first time there was a 10 count on a ring out.
Oh yeah. Because we're like, oh shit, he's counted out. Oh, they counted 20.
Yeah, that was the thing. I was like, it's 10. Like I was learning like the rules as I was watching. And I was also sometimes confused, or I wasn't too certain who was the heel or who was the face in some of these matches, but I was just cheering for who I thought was cool.
It's cool because it's kind of like Tekken, where it's just like there's different languages and one guy's a bad guy and a good guy.
Right.
And they're just still supposed to clash, and they cut their promos in their native language.
Exactly. I will say the most emotional reaction that a match got was the Jack Perry match. I think he got the biggest reaction from the crowd, and it was mixed. It was mixed, and I guess I half expected it, just because pulling from my observations at AEW shows when CM Punk was still kind of like in between that brawl out. Is he coming back? Isn't he coming back? Stuff. I think when we were at the AEW Thanksgiving show, if you guys remember, when Kenny Omega was in a tag match, was he with the Young Bucks? I don't remember, but he like during that Thanksgiving match, he mimicked biting the other guy's arm, which I thought was funny.
The heat, get the heat,
play up with the crowd, and during that specific segment too, it was like the half CM Punk chants, half CM Punk sucks chant. So yeah, I mean, I guess there's a crossover between WWE and AEW, but I do think with the AEW crowd, it's more half and half versus like in WWE right now. CM Punk is just getting complete cheers, right? Any other matches that stuck out to you guys that you thought was cool?
The Ali match was good.
Oh yeah.
Mustafa Ali.
What was it? What? So the other guy's gimmick was he has a cat with a six pack, and I guess he brings him to the ring every single time.
Yeah, it's like character, but I think I've seen like promo shots from like earlier matches. He just recently must have gotten that six pack. He must have worked really hard, so now he can put him in the ring and then have him fight the match for him.
That would be funny. I mean, maybe they did do vignettes of him just training the stuffed cat, I think it was.
With the lucha mask?
He debuts him with a six-pack. That's actually kind of amazing.
Email from Peter coming soon.
Any other match really for you, David?
That Mox match. Congrats.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
you kind of mentioned like maybe it sounds like Jon Moxley is supposed to win. I wasn't actually expecting it because I'm like, why would he get the New Japan belt and then he'll carry it over to AEW? But I guess there is that flexibility between companies that they allow people showing up because, I mean, Forbidden Door as a concept now, it just seems kind of like, I mean, it's not really Forbidden Door anymore. Like they jump back and forth consistently. So it's like not that special, but their partnership, I mean, I guess it makes sense. He's got the belt. He promotes New Japan, and AEW gets, Jon Moxley as the New Japan IGPW champion. And I also thought, yeah, thank you. Whatever. And I think what other match was, or the Matt Riddle match was really good too.
Yeah.
And I guess Matt Riddle is a heel. I mean,
Yeah.
I welcomed it. I did want to boo him regardless if he was a face or a heel. But that, yeah, Zack Sabre Jr., right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really good match. I think that was in terms of technique and skill. I think that one was my favorite. In terms of pure carnage and emotion, the Eddie Kingston crazy ass 6-8 man tag, whatever it was. I mean, that was just pure chaos. Like it was just like, all right, we'll just be throughout the entire arena. We'll be throwing trash cans at each other, kendo sticks. We'll be going up and down the ramp. I mean, it was just pure carnage. I wouldn't even call it a match. It was literally like a brawl. But fun. Like you sometimes need those kinds of matches just to break up the traditional matches. But really good, really good show. Andres, you recently you went for a bachelor's party for, was it Steve?
Yeah,
Steve-O?
Steve-O.
Steve?
Yeah.
When is he getting married?
The very beginning of June, so very soon actually.
Oh, nice. And he
Yeah.
went, or he decided, or who picked this CSW uh, uh, promotion show thing as his bachelor party?
It was actually like we had a group chat for like all the like groomsmen, and like collectively we were like we want to go to like an indie show, but we didn't know which one. Then the New Japan one was one of the options we were looking into, but we were like, you know what, this one's like on a Friday, yeah, it was on a Friday, so everyone was like, going to be out of work, and it was going to be easier for us to go, and it was actually really close by. Like I had another friend who was hosting like the gathering just before, and he lived 5 minutes from there, so it was just perfect.
This is the one in Franklin Park, right?
Yeah.
Like that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's also like 5 minutes from my house, 7 minutes. That's crazy. Like, what was the reasoning? Like, I know that they have a show in Peoria, but Peoria is not close to Franklin Park. But I guess like that's probably one of the bigger indie wrestling promotions in the region. So I guess he just wanted to stop by and say hello. I mean, if it was freelance around the same time, I'm sure he would have done the same. But they just happened to have a show.
Yeah.
Friday. And so, what did he say anything on the microphone? Did I mention who debuted? It was Will Ospreay. I didn't even say his name, did I? Will Ospreay was a special guest referee for a match.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very, very surprising. The match was Sky Blue. There was someone scheduled for her to fight, but like she came out on the microphone and like said, "Oh, she didn't want to fight me, whatever." And then all of a sudden, this guy from Ring of Honor came out. I don't know his name, unfortunately, but I think he's the champion there.
Kyle Fletcher.
Yep, that's him. He came out and
Scrub.
he came out and he challenged her, and then all of a sudden, just Will Ospreay saw music played, and then everyone was like, "What's going on?" And then he just came out, and the whole crowd was like freaking out, all like 100 of us.
The dozens and dozens.
Yeah, it was cool though. It was crazy. It was like no one expected, especially like there. You know, it's such a small little gymnasium. Like the taller wrestlers were hitting the light fixtures when they were getting like suplexed in the ring. So
That's insane.
yeah, it was
If you want a wrestling promotion, you'd like your ceiling to be a little taller if you're doing moves.
a little taller. There's actually another one not too far. They do wrestling shows in Villa Park, and same thing. The roofs are not very high. I've seen people hit like the tiles and like knock them off when they're doing like an elbow drop from the turnbuckle and stuff. I was like, so I don't know. But it's cool that like they have that closeness. Like, you know, they don't have to go to big places. It's like, you know, a smaller gymnasium is more personable. You know, but it was great. It was a great show.
I mean, I guess freelance has the same issue when they go to Emporium, because it's like that's also, they have like just beam, like they have the ceiling and then just like beams sticking out too. So if you put a ring in there, I'm pretty sure I see some of them even just grab the top of the ceiling just to be used as like some kind of additional weapon or thing to bounce off of. So hey, indie wrestling, that's how it goes.
Feel like they're...
Hot dog.
Hell yeah, dude.
Well, did I mention it was 420? as of this recording.
Blaze
Thanks.
it.
Blaze it, Willie Nelson style. But that's and I guess what else did we do this weekend? I played Monster Rancher.
Monster Rancher.
Yeah, they had Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX. I got it like 2 years ago whenever it came out, but I played it for a little bit, then stopped, and then I recently just started playing it again and watching the show because I was like, well, we never finished the series because on Fox Kids, they basically canceled it after 2 seasons, even though there was a 3rd season. So the entire series is on Amazon Prime.
Cool.
And I was watching it, and I also started playing Monster Rancher again, and I got the Phoenix as a monster. So I'm kind of addicted right now, and I'm also pretty high up in ranking. So
Well, how does it work to get the monsters if you're not putting in discs? How does that work?
it's a database. You just type in like artists names or any album you can think of, and like it's like a search engine that pops up a list of suggestions.
Oh.
And you click on it, and then it can or cannot develop the monster depending on your ranking. If it's too rare, then they won't let you.
Cool.
But that's how they get around to it. But anyway, I guess we can jump into the news. There's been a lot of different stories and rumblings around in the past week. One of them from the Wrestling Observer newsletter, and good old Dave Meltzer talking about the potential for Vince McMahon venturing into a new wrestling promotion. If you guys haven't read the news, there have been multiple stories of Vince McMahon selling his entire stock from TKO, which earns him millions and millions of dollars on top of being a billionaire. He's getting hundreds of millions of dollars more.
Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
Thank you. And there was speculation that he might be venturing into a new wrestling promotion. So the departure amid allegations triggered speculation about his potential launch of a new wrestling enterprise. He divested his stock, and a lot of people are assuming, or a lot of people are doubting that he's going to venture into a new promotion due to his age and legal issues. There are folks who do think he might have it in him. And in this writing, there's some skepticism, and there were other reports that were saying, well, he might, but I don't see it happening personally. Do you guys feel like there's any possibility that Vince McMahon would create his own wrestling promotion?
I
I
mean,
don't think so.
he's got quite the ego. I would not be surprised.
That's the one thing that I was thinking about was the ego, and that's basically all he ever knew. And he's 78. He's almost 80 years old, right? So, most people will be like, well, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to start a new, business or promotion. But I wouldn't put it past him, especially the kind of character that he is. And all the stories you hear as a boss, working out at 3 a.m. It sounds like that guy never sleeps, and everything was under his control. Everything had to go through him. He was a constant worker. So that sudden stop recently, 2 years ago or so, that he wasn't like doing wrestling anymore, and specifically WWE, must be bizarre for him. So that if I look at it from that perspective, I could see it happening. But I think if you combine if you can combine his recent stories and all that kind of stuff, his reputation probably isn't great. So trying to hire specific wrestlers or people and associating yourself with his name right now is probably not a good idea. Saturation of current wrestling promotions. You have AEW, WWE, obviously. You have TNA, you have New Japan. You have a lot of options as a wrestling fan to, watch wrestling. Ring of Honor, I guess, even though that's technically AEW light. But I don't know. I don't see it happening. If it does happen, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not surprised, but I don't see the benefit or the rewards for him anyway, starting a new promotion from the ground up. Right? Any other thoughts on this?
I pretty much agree with Chris, and I agree with you too. It's like, well, like probably shouldn't, because like why? At this point, you're under investigation. There's not really reason to be doing that, but yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen personally.
Well,
I
that's the question, isn't it? Though I mean, like, how does he start a promotion if he's under a bunch of legal trouble? Like, he'd have to go through all that stuff
Money.
first.
Well, that's a separate issue though. That doesn't prevent you from doing a business.
Unless you're in jail.
Well,
Yeah.
he wouldn't go to jail. I don't think. I don't think that's something you'd get put in jail for. Maybe.
I mean, even if like he opened a new promotion and went to jail, he probably still like run it from jail.
Sex
Yeah, why
trafficking won't put you
That'd
in
make
jail.
good promos. That'd be good promos from the payphone.
Yeah.
That's
I mean
crazy.
that's his niche. Like the way he presents his wrestling show would be completely different from everybody else.
It's like Billy Corgan. NWA had some dude do some fucking blow on TV.
Line. Yeah.
Oh right. Are they still around?
What? I didn't know
They
that.
got a slap on the wrist, but I think they're trying to do it again. I heard.
Oh, there's another promotion I thought about. But there you go. I mean, saturation. I mean, you said legal issues, but I think that is still separate, at least when it comes to like starting a business and making it run. I think the reputation part is stronger than that lawsuit. So I mean, who what wrestlers do you think would go to this promotion? Because there are always constant free
See
agents.
Ryback first in line.
Yeah,
Ryback,
you're right.
baby. We're gonna put you to the moon, kid.
Ryback,
Goldberg.
Goldberg, Undertaker, one last run.
Fucking Ronda Rousey.
She wouldn't. No, she was the one who was shitting on him. No pun
Damn,
intended.
she shit on him.
In her book tour, but not Ronda Rousey. I don't even know
What females?
Brock Lesnar,
All men wrestling.
Johnny Ace, all the
AMW.
cronies, Bruce Pritchard,
Damn, that'd be
Jump
crazy.
Ship, John Cena.
Oh my god, that'd be crazy.
Yeah,
No way, he would not.
I think he would.
John Cena, you think John Cena, who like kids look up to, would go? in
Hell yeah.
cahoots? You think so?
He already is.
He's in his heel era.
Oh yeah.
He's
I saw an
already
article that said that Cena and The Rock are still in good terms and contact with Mr. McMahon.
I mean, most of your career is based on this man's creative input and basically pushing you to the moon, I feel like their perspective is a little different, I would say. Because, of course, he was very nice to them. I mean, he's making them millions of dollars. They're making millions of dollars. And again, most people say he's a nice guy, to them, But in terms of wrestlers, maybe not The Rock and John Cena. Maybe I'm stretching that a little too far.
Jim Cornette on commentary.
Yeah, Jim Cornette. I just want some kind of backwoods, trailer park wrestling promotion. And like just back to basics for him, because he says he grew up in a trailer park. Fuck it, just started in a trailer park.
Yeah, man, Smoky Mountain 2.0, baby.
Or what's that one show which has like a mud pit with like the ropes? What's it called?
Oh man, you got to put those guys over though. You're talking about the dudes from Africa?
Is that what it is?
You talking about soft ground?
South Ground Wrestling?
It's called soft ground wrestling.
Yeah, don't do that to soft ground, bro.
Yeah, they're the people's promotion, dude.
No, I'm saying they're innovators. I don't want to shit on them. Again,
They got indie darlings coming all the way to fucking Uganda.
Matt Cardona in soft ground wrestling.
You got a torn
When
pack,
he's
you
healed.
can't.
Well, I mean, after when he gets healed, I mean, if he's the indie god, he should go to soft ground wrestling and get whatever championship they have over there.
I'm
Nice.
sure he's thought about it.
He'd be the new White Devil over there.
Oh, who else? Oh, what's the other guy? Not Big Cass. The other one. He would go to Vince McMahon's promotion.
Think so? Enzo Amore.
Bada bing,
Enzo,
bada
yeah.
boom.
I think Enzo's too real for a lot of that shit.
Yeah, I think there's some ego.
Do they still got the Juggalo Wrestling Federation? Is that a thing?
Soft. There you go. He can like be like
wouldn't be
McMahon
surprised.
X Juggalo or whatever their damn psychopathic records. It's the collab. That'd be crazy.
Yeah. They did. ICP was doing those for a while. They were also like in part of WWF. They were a lot in ECW. They went to WCW as well. They actually went to all the promotions actually, but then they eventually started their own like show
I think Eric
at
Bischoff.
their,
would
at
go.
their tours. Yeah, but I don't remember what.
No, I don't think you're.
I remember Vampiro was like a very frequent like wrestler on their promotion for a while.
Get Gangrel on that thing, fanging and banging.
There you go.
baby.
That'd be a Gangrel on.
Yeah, just have a whole roster of like
Oh,
Attitude
yeah.
Era stars.
Yeah,
People who are,
comedian.
you can't get Billy Gunn, but you can get Gangrel.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh.
no.
Road Dogg
Nah,
and
it-
some dudes.
He's an agent. He can't.
Oh yeah, you're right. He got
Yeah.
a contract. Well, I mean, there are plenty of other Attitude Era stars and
The
rejects.
headbangers.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, the Headbangers totally. Yeah.
D-Lo
The
Brown.
mop.
D'Lo
Perry
Brown.
Saturn. Wait, Perry Saturn's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And he needs money, so he'll go there.
Sometimes you can't tell, Yeah.
Toss up from people from that era.
Yeah.
Did you say Brock
It's called-
Lesnar or no?
I did say
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
Okay.
I mean, he was a Vince guy for sure.
Mhm.
He'd be his main event star.
Again,
True.
That'd be kind of cool.
he'd be his golden shower boy.
My golden boy.
That's crazy.
Golden shower, that is.
He'll bring his wife Sable.
Are they still together?
Yeah.
I think so.
I thought he was divorced. At least after this story, I thought he was.
Maybe after
divorced.
the after the allegations came out. Yeah.
That's why he just married her and hit her in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said he's like way out there, like, and there's like nothing around him. He even has like trees surrounding his house.
Random polar bear.
Mhm.
Also joining Vince McMahon's promotion.
Kuma.
Well, I mean, I get like I said, I think it's highly unlikely, but it's interesting to speculate. It would be kind of hilarious if he does create his own promotion. But also, on the other part of the story is he's really gone from WWE. Like if he's selling all his shares, he has no input, like any last vestige of suspicion that somehow he's still giving input, I could say is probably safely gone. Because I mean, looking in general at the product right now as it is, the production, the storylines that are actually being followed through and not changed last minute.
The champions.
I mean, it's really impressive. So I
Paul
can say
Levesque
that
era.
Vince is gone. Absolutely, Paul Levesque era, and keep it going. Well, I think that's enough of that. We can jump into the next story. This one involves AEW. Tony Khan went on a recent media press tour.
Tirade.
Talking about his successes in Q1 of 2024. In a recent interview, he revealed his expectation to launch an archive library featuring past AEW content in the next media rights deal. The move responds to fans' long-standing desire for access to older AEW episodes and pay-per-views. Currently, discussions are underway with Warner Brothers Discovery for potential partnerships. Khan also discussed AEW's financial growth, attributing it to an expanded event schedule, increased pay-per-view revenue, and higher rights fees with notable successes in Q1 of 2024. Now, I think there's been this conversation for the longest time, like, well, WWE has their library and network. I think TNA has like their own subscription,
Yeah.
some kind of form of content library. Why doesn't AEW? And I think that's a fair question. And it sounds like that it'll come into fruition during their next media rights deal. What do you guys, if as AEW fans, what do you want to see from AEW's? Do you think it's going to be an app? Do you think they're going to be tied into like a specific current streaming service, kind of like WWE's with Peacock and then eventually Netflix. What do you foresee them doing?
I mean, I don't know where my client got this, but he said they were thinking about putting like Dynamite and stuff on YouTube, but I don't know if that's just like speculation type stuff.
Like free? Like just streaming free?
Well,
Or
I mean, it'd probably be like under
YouTube
like a premium perhaps, but like that's what he was saying. But I mean, that could have been, who knows? 'Cause I haven't read anything recently.
I mean, maybe YouTube Premium.
Hmm.
What was that, David?
So it could have been one of those 420 ideas.
Yeah, you know, it'd be great. Like if they put
100%.
that shit on YouTube, bro.
You mean like YouTube TV? Oh, you mean cable? Yes, that's what I mean. But what? How do you guys feel about a streaming service or a separate membership? I guess would you guys pay extra money for an AEW membership?
I think it needs to be
Or
tied
are we
into.
splitting that thing 4 ways?
Yeah, right. I mean,
Send
that's
us membership and we just share the account.
that's what it would come
There you
down
go.
to, I think. But I
Put it
mean,
on the company card.
yeah, exactly. But if they're
I'm not
talking
that
to
far.
Warner Bros. Discovery, I'm guessing they would just like put it on Max. I'm guessing.
Huh?
That would be
Do you think
logical.
they're going to renew their media rights with Warner Brothers? I don't know if that already happened or not, but I think it's in talks right now.
I think they
I'm
are.
sure they will.
I mean, yeah. I mean, objectively, even if people like to crap on their ratings and stuff, it is number 3 in the ratings on Wednesdays. So, from a TV, media rights perspective, advertising and all that kind of stuff, it's still a valuable property. Regardless of people trying to compare it to WWE because you can. They are on their own island of relevancy. But I personally would want to see it mixed in with Max, selfishly because I have Max, so I wouldn't have to change, or add on to my current subscription, library of stuff that I'm paying for. But I think it's a good idea. I was surprised that I'm curious to see what their pay-per-view buys are, because that just seems still like an old outdated kind of way of doing it. Like every show you're paying $50. Like from a consumer perspective, if you're paying for Peacock for like $6 or $7 or $8 or whatever it is, you don't only just get wrestling, you also get all these other shows, movies, and all that kind of stuff. So like, why would anyone want to pay $50 for one show that I don't think you can even replay like on demand, right? Once you pay
Yeah,
the
you can.
50,
Yeah, you can. You own
like
it.
permanently?
Yeah,
Permanently?
I could watch 20, 21, whatever the hell it was, all out.
Well, I mean, that's good, but
That's
still,
the highest
it's
selling pay-per-view.
$50. It's still $50,
Sure. I mean, people justify it for UFC, like boxing fights all the time, and that might even be more.
I mean, doesn't UFC have their own streaming service, though? I thought they did.
Maybe
Yeah, but
not
they
for like,
still have to pay.
yeah, and like it probably for like not like big fights or like their UFC numbered pay-per-view thing or whatever.
Right.
The $60 or $50 price tag, that's like back in the day, wasn't it? Like, wasn't it like $60 to like get a pay-per-view?
It was about
For
50, I
WWE?
think.
It's been 50 for a while. I mean, I would have thought they would have increased it just because
Yeah.
of inflation or something, but
Yeah. I'm talking like the early 2000s, even late 90s. Like, that's what we were paying when we used to order them. $60, I think, is what it was.
maybe they lowered it because they're like, well, how many people are going to pay $60 when, again, like the thing that I just mentioned, like you watch other
Yeah, there's-
wrestling shows for cheaper.
True.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea. I don't know personally if I would make a separate membership. I would tie it in with Max or I don't know, Tubi or Roku TV, something that allows them to get more eyeballs and expose people to older content, even if it is 5 years old. You still have a lot of shows that you went through, pay-per-views. You have all these shorts that you have on YouTube. You can put that in the library, like AEW and all those kinds of shorts, like with John Morrison or whatever his name is right now.
John Morrison.
Johnny TV.
What's that?
Johnny TV.
Is his name Johnny TV?
You're talking about RJ City?
No, John Morrison is in AEW, right?
Oh
Or am I
yeah,
not-
yeah. You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Johnny
he
TV.
has like this short on YouTube with his lover partner.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying like all these specials and stuff that they have on YouTube, you could use as content for this new streaming service.
Yeah.
Or part of a library attached to an existing streaming service.
CCTV footage.
Yes, exactly. every All In, they just have like a live feed of backstage fights and brawls.
That's
I mean,
Vince
that's a
Russo
selling point
shit.
right there. Yeah. It's like the freaking Truman Show. If you guys watch that with Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, it'd just be, or I mean, I guess it's just like reality TV or Big Brother, just a constant camera on them wherever they are. But I don't know. I think it's a good idea, and I think it's honestly expected eventually. But I'm curious to see how much they're gonna pay for AEW in their new renewal deal. It sounds like they're gonna pay more than what they did previously, which is only good, you know, for Tony Khan and the amount of money that he spent for all these new wrestlers. I mean, I feel like he's got to be in the red there, but if he's spending his own money, more power to him. It's a passion project, clearly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean, I think it's a good idea, and we will move on now to our Backlash 2024 predictions. Now, as of this recording, we only have 3 confirmed matches. There are some potential matches that seem like they're written on the wall, so we'll talk about those potential matches and see where that goes. Currently, we have Damian Priest versus Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. We got Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles, who beat LA Knight on last week's SmackDown for the Undisputed the WWE Championship, because I think they just eliminated Undisputed Universal. And also the Street Profits versus 8-Town Down Under for their WWE Tag Team Championships. I think that's what they called it. You know what? Let a quick aside, because we had on Raw the debut of new tag team titles, and on SmackDown we also got new tag team championships. Which one do you guys like better, and what do you guys think of them in general?
I like SmackDowns.
Is it because it looks like the older ones? Or
No,
you
it
just like
doesn't
them
look
better?
like a plate.
Yeah, but you remember the Attitude Era WWF Championship? That looked like a plate. That was still pretty cool.
Yeah, but it was a cool looking plate. It wasn't just a plate with like a W on it.
I kind of like it kind of has like this, like it's like golden lions-ish, and there's like this white ish background behind the
Outline.
gold.
Yeah, it looks cool.
I think it looks cool.
But
I do say I do like the SmackDown ones better.
yeah, classic. You know, if you're going for wrestling fans, that nostalgia hit doesn't hit like nothing else.
Yeah.
Arm.
It's nothing
I,
stronger.
When I was actually at the show, I saw the belts. Steve-O was the one that showed it to me. And I was like, yeah, I like the look. I actually like both, but I think I actually prefer the Raw ones.
Mhm.
Damn, hot take.
Hot take. I mean, if
Ooh,
you're
this
looking at X and
man.
Instagram, yeah, that is a hot take. But I mean, yeah, I think they're good titles. I don't get why people are shitting on them. But you know what? There's always going to be people shitting on something. If there will be contrarians, and any comment section is not a accurate verifier data point for, you know, opinions. So sometimes I feel like people take the comment section a little too seriously. Like I've seen wrestlers, specifically FTR recently, like they're just like if someone like said shit, I would just ignore it, but they're like putting it in their stories, responding to these guys. Like it just seems like a waste of energy for me. But I don't know. I would just leave that shit alone, man.
Local man yells at cloud.
Honestly, but like that's the other thing. Like you guys are, I don't know. Like I understand like you make millions of dollars and all that kind of stuff, and you're a public figure. But if I was in their position, I think I would actively just turn off comments. Like, I'll upload content and stuff, but I just wouldn't pay attention to the comments, because you will always get negativity and people saying shit. Like, that's how I just look at it. I'm like, oh, water's wet. Someone called me an asshole or whatever it is, But sometimes people can't help themselves. But I guess that's a side rant. But I do like the SmackDown titles better. It does remind me of those old titles, and it does remind me of like Paul London and Brian Kendrick as tag team champs for whatever reason. When I see those belts, I do like that it's like very just like gold. And it's not like it's an obvious like big W in the middle. There's a W, but they're not making it a focal point, as it shouldn't. But what do you guys think about? Well, so they have these new tag belts. Do you think they're going to change the women's tag team championships, or do you think that those will stay?
Those will probably stay.
They're pretty new.
Yeah, I mean they're only like what, 2 years old.
Nobody's really complained about them either.
Right, and they look nice. I think they look good.
Yeah,
I like that
nice.
it separates from the men's belt with these white straps.
The men's belt really needed an update, anyways.
They did.
Prettiest.
They
were copper originally, weren't they?
Yeah. Well, they were copper. Like, they were the same coin shape. It was copper first, and then they just switched it to silver. Like, for me, like, visually, it just means like, oh, it's like a third place belt, because you were literally putting bronze or silver, a second place belt, when you're doing that. Just give them gold. Like, they're the champions of the tag team division. So give them gold. It's not like, I'm the champ, here's some bronze pennies, for
That was Vinnie Mac.
That's a good addition.
That was Vinnie Mac, and I don't understand like the logic. I guess I get like the Spartan helmet, whatever. It was kind of cool, I guess, but yeah, I didn't like what they even did with like the WWE Championship belts, like color coding it, like this is red, this is blue. I didn't like that.
But so personally.
Exactly. I mean, that's how but I don't know. We'll get into like the concept of brands and brand splitting in the draft section, but yeah, tag belts are awesome. I think they look great, and that's and I'm curious to see if he'll do the same thing for the WWE Championship. The World Heavyweight one just showed up last year, so I don't know if they'll be changing that anytime soon, but I feel like the WWE Championship might see a facelift.
Well, I mean, you don't put a giant fucking WWE belt in front of the headquarters and then just change that shit.
Yeah. I agree.
I guess you're right.
Because TKO has the UFC belt.
Then
when they changed it from the women's
fanny pack.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly.
When they change it from the spinner or the whatever, because it stopped spinning, it's for some point there.
Yeah.
For whatever, I forgot what they even called it, but when they changed it to like the older squiggly, like scratch, like WWE logo signs, and then now we got changed to this one, like I liked it, but then I think it overstayed its welcome, so I'm assuming they're going to change that one too. And I think they should.
I mean, and it's you guys were saying like, oh, well, they already have this kind of lawn ornament on their front company building, but I think it's a merchandise opportunity. I mean, look at what they just did with the tag belts. They immediately posted it, like, oh, you could buy these new tag team titles. And those folks are going to buy that shit up. All the basement dwellers and people with long stringy hair and fedoras, they will eat that shit up. And me.
There goes our audience. No.
Oh, crap. My bad.
AEW fan.
But yeah, versus the Chad WWE fan.
Yeah, tribalism.
But yeah, great, awesome tag titles. But we'll start with the World Heavyweight Championship match. What do you guys think? So Backlash in France, I can't pinpoint what kind of crowd that's going to be. What do you think they'll be hot? Like, or did they sell it out? I've never seen a fanatical French wrestling fan, but I guess I wasn't looking, right? So How do you guys think the crowd is going to be at Backlash?
It's gonna be like, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's gonna be like Lisa going to that French class in that like higher education school or whatever, and they're like, all right, laugh correctly, and they're like, oh,
Oh my god!
that's how it's gonna
Can edit
be.
that ignorant comment out. We're gonna start talking about baguettes too, huh? And striped shirts and berets.
Hey man, you're laying it on thick. Cigarettes.
Why does everybody look like a mime?
Exactly. Hey, I thought we shooting out here.
They're pretty vocal from clips of that they posted on WWE from like last year's house shows. But for whatever reason, they like Baron Corbin. So who knows what the fuck's gonna happen?
That is interesting, right? I'm curious to see where their tastes go, because there are some obvious ones. I think people will be cheering more, unless it's Bizarre World, and they'll be cheering the opposite of who people like, which is fine.
Like when Io Sky was in Puerto Rico, she was
Man,
Puerto
she was like
Rican
it sounded like a hometown
Honorary.
girl, man.
Yeah.
honorary Puerto Rican.
Honorary Puerto Rican Io Sky. Yeah, I forgot about that.
It's a different
Yeah,
island.
that was crazy. And you know what it is? I think partially it is because they've never gotten a PLE, or they haven't gotten it in such a long time. All that pent up energy, they're like, I want to show you what our crowd can do. And I think the French pay-per-view or PLE is going to be doing the same.
Well, you could also think about like France connected, and a lot of Europe is connected through trains and stuff. So it's gonna be, it might not be just like strictly French people.
That's true.
The London crowds and stuff. We. Yeah.
You know that shit's gonna happen.
Weed.
Yeah, weed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's probably going to pop off for sure. Because every time they go to London, they went to Scotland. Was it Scotland yeah, it was Scotland, right? Glasgow. Like, crowds were always nuts. All in, those blokes.
Well, Clash of the Castle, that one was in Wales.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. But they've had live shows in Scotland and the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've definitely gone through a plenty of times.
Gonna be a
They've been doing
reaction.
It sounds like Cody Rhodes gets a pretty good reaction from the London crowd, but I'm just curious to see his name is the American Nightmare, so like a European perspective of that kind of
Invading Europe.
persona, yeah, or do they think we're like some kind of like how we view Russia, like?
But it is pro wrestling,
Oh,
though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think that I think most people, I don't think people look at it that way anymore. And if they do boo, it's because like they think it's fun. Not like, it wasn't like, Sergeant Slaughter in '92 when he was with an Iraqi sympathizer or an Iranian sympathizer. It was Iraqi because Saddam Hussein. And they were photoshopping him with Saddam Hussein. Like, people were legitimately pissed off. And,
there was threats on the company and everything.
Yeah, I watched that biography. They had to put security guards at his family's house. So not only was his wife like upset that he was barely ever home, but then the guy who's never home has now gotten their house death threats and security guards.
I mean, that's how back in the day, like when pro wrestling started, they would just generate heat by like putting like Russians or Germans or something like that as heel characters and like the circus stuff, and then whoever would be the face. So old as time.
I think it's also like there was also this kind of sense that maybe it was real, so a lot of people treated it as like they're actually real, whatever, Russians, because some of them were definitely not Russian or French, or Joaquin, the African Dream, or whatever his name was. He was not black. I think he was a white guy.
It's real to me,
Right?
damn it.
Like that. And again, thank God Vince is gone. Some of those choices were fucking bizarre, man. Even for like 1993, I think.
That shit's crazy.
But yeah, so anyway, going back to my original point about the crowd in France and how they're going to react, I do think it's going to be super hot because of that pent up energy. So that'll be really fun to see. And so the first one was Damian Priest versus Jey Uso. Priest got the championship at WrestleMania 40. He cashed in the title only seconds after Drew McIntyre beat Seth Rollins. And CM Punk obviously did a little assist to get Priest's first run as world champion on there that night. I might foresee McIntyre interfering in this in some fashion. So that might, I mean, I don't know what that means for these two because they're not that involved with the CM Punk feud. But what do you guys, where do you guys think this goes with Damian Priest and Jey Uso? Do you think there's any chance in hell Jey Uso can beat Damian Priest?
No.
No. I think it might be some type of bloodline continuation.
No yeet.
I mean, I think it's they booked it in a way where they're like, okay, this guy's a main event guy. He gets a title shot, but he's just gonna lose it. You know? So they're always just gonna keep him in like that kind of a title picture.
It's
but
main event, Jey Uso.
Upper mid card.
Doesn't mean he can win.
Right.
He's just in the main event.
Well, okay, so I guess I want to throw this additional story point because we have this new bloodline story formulating, and I gotta say, I think Solo as a promo person and the way he delivers his lines and stuff, I think he's actually really good. I don't know why they didn't let him talk before or as much. Like you can never hear him speak for a majority of the bloodlines run so far. But he did really good, and Tama Tonga looks like a freaking like machine. Like he looks like polished, jack dude. And they took out Jimmy Uso. So where the hell does Jimmy Uso go? He was upset at Jey Uso, and they had this whole feud, and he hates the guy. And now he stayed with the Bloodline, and now Solo and Tama Tonga are creating their own version. And I'm assuming that The Rock is probably having some kind of input in this faction, and that's how they're going to split like the Roman versus Rock. I think that's where that's going. So where does Jimmy go? Like, do you think
Roman?
Do you think he goes to Roman Reigns?
Yeah, he's gonna join the Wolfpack.
What do you think he does in the meantime, though? Because I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Do you think he interferes in this match for some ungodly reason?
Tag teams with Jey Uso.
Yeah, he's going.
Just puts him back as a tag team.
Yep. Get these new shiny belts.
Something's gonna happen.
Your singles run was short-lived, Jay, but. Well, actually, it was fairly long, but I mean, they've always like split people apart and put them back together. I mean, the Hardys are a good example, right? They had their singles runs, and then they went back as tag teams. So I guess that's a potential. But so consensus is we think Jey Uso is gonna lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we think he's going to lose clean? You said that there was going to be a bloodline interference. Is there any other? Do you think there's some kind of involvement with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre or Judgment Day? I guess.
I can see Judgment Day interfering with the bloodline. But yeah, I definitely don't think Damian Priest is going to lose. He just got his belt, the newer one. You know, I don't think he's going to have like a super long run, but I definitely feel like he's going to have a decent run for a little while. And now with Rhea Ripley injured, you know, they had both of their world titles prospectively, and now she's gone, so maybe they'll have him be the one that's carrying it, you know.
Yeah, I mean they lost one belt, they lose two, and then just like ruin their momentum, right? You know, going in. Like then you kind of make Judgment Day look like schmucks, but. A lot of people still are saying that Damian Priest is going to be a transitional champion. Like he's only gonna he'll beat the guy at Backlash, but then they're saying that at Clash of the Castle in June, I think it is, he's gonna lose to Drew McIntyre. Do you think that's feasible?
Yes.
Possible.
Yeah. And then maybe that'll set up for Punk after that, maybe for Drew McIntyre.
Mm-hmm. Your reasons, Chris?
Yeah, I think he's gonna lose it. First Puerto Rican champ, or not first Puerto Rican champ, but he gets the card. Now you go away, kind of a thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm trying to think because Damian Priest is a heel, Drew McIntyre is obviously a heel, or maybe he's a lovable asshole, so he's a tweener. Because then that's the match, right? So do you think that can work with Drew McIntyre? I like how we're just like saying, yeah, Jay's gonna lose.
There's no question there.
I
Okay.
truly think that's it.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Because between now and then, a lot of shit can happen. But as it stands now,
Yeah, from yeah, because the other thing is that we have to think about the draft that's going to take place
yeah,
soon, and as of this recording, maybe it'll already happen. We'll see, but yeah, the draft is probably going to shake up a lot of things, and we'll jump into that in a couple of minutes. But yeah, Damian Priest is probably going to retain. Hopefully, it's a really good match. They can definitely put on a show. I do expect some kind of interference. Maybe CM Punk and Drew McIntyre somehow get involved because Drew is looking for that title specifically. But I think his hatred for Punk right now is kind of overshadowing the championship. So maybe he won't even be involved. But
yeah, I think it's honestly going to be separate. That's going to be probably fleshed out for a while, and then he'll get back into the title thing. I'm guessing.
Mhm.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is even though like they lost the women's world title because Rhea Ripley had to relinquish it of her injury, they still got half of the tag title because of R-Truth.
Oh well, I mean, jokingly, they're like
Yeah.
that doesn't count, but I could
No, I know.
definitely
Well,
I could
love
definitely
that
see them
shot.
weave that in there.
Yeah.
I could definitely see them weaving that in there. We'll save the championship match last. We'll go into the next one that is announced: Street Profits versus A-Town Down Under. They just A-Town Down Under just got their titles at WrestleMania, and I do like them as a tag team. I think they're super entertaining. Putting them together was exactly what I expected, and they meld so well. So I don't know if I could see them losing either. Do you guys have any counter opinions on this match?
I mean, Street Profits are like a legit tag team because these guys were kind of put together. Yeah, they meshed, but they weren't like billed as a tag team. So I could see them losing.
Well, they got a name at least, you know. Like sometimes you just have like I don't know Natalia and I don't even know Natalia and some other woman wrestler, and they just have like two names. They just use their names, and that's a tag team, quote unquote. You know, so I feel like because they have like the name and all that kind of stuff, there is a concerted effort to treat them as an actual tag team.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't see them losing their belts. Honestly, probably throughout the whole, even though like they haven't announced every match yet, I probably don't see any title exchanges just yet. Maybe just set up
Backlash.
from yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's all going to be
I don't really see.
retained.
I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like it'll be lots of good matches. I think most of them will be retained. Is the Women's World Championship, is that going to be a match on Raw, or are they putting that on Backlash? I think it's a Raw thing. Well, let me double check.
Because I remember, like, what was it? Like, didn't Oscar get it because someone else was injured too? It was
Cursed.
Was it Becky? And they just awarded it to Oscar.
Okay, so Battle Royal will determine the next Women's World Champion. Huh.
Oh, that's cool. So it's gonna be a whole thing for that. Okay, not just for a shot, for like you actually get the title. That's cool.
Yes.
Gonna be Liv.
So I mean, I could see Liv Morgan getting it. I mean, I'm digging her heel run right now. I think that's what she needed because her face character was kind of flat for me. I mean, it's kind of like Candice LeRae too. Both of them as faces. They maybe if there was something interesting that they could attach to them, I'd be more invested. But I liked them as baddies better, just because I mean, they haven't done anything, so maybe it's something different. Will sparks my interest. Maybe that's why. But I could see Liv Morgan. I mean, I could see Liv Morgan getting it, and because Rhea Ripley's going to be out for a couple of months, I'm not sure how long she's going to be.
I mean, that's the
that
match.
she can hold on to it, and that would be the match, I think. But yeah, so for the tag teams, we think you guys think A-Town Down Under is retaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there are other potential matches that haven't been announced yet, and probably when Raw happens, maybe they'll announce it. It'll be Gable versus Sami Zayn. Now, I don't know where this one could go because I think Chad Gable deserves the Intercontinental Championship, but I don't know if he'd be getting it that quickly. What do you guys think?
Nah, he says shit. Sammy got his win in freaking Canada. Now he gets to lose it.
That's true. I mean, they just had the match, right? Like, do you think that they would put another? I mean, I guess I don't see why not. It'd be just kind of like I could see him making a 3-parter.
Yeah, I mean,
He wins the belt, he wins it, or he retained. Chad wins it back, and then they do a rubber match. Because that thing just started, and I don't see how they wouldn't put this on a PLE. Maybe non-title, but I don't see why Sammy would be like, yeah, I'm doing this, but non-title. I don't think that's happening.
No.
But do you think Sami Zayn retains?
I think he does.
I think Sammy will retain, yeah.
And then get the shit beat out of him.
I mean, the one thing Sami Zayn does really well is sell moves. The moment, like I truly believe, like, did he twist his ankle? Does his back hurt? Like just the way he sells and he delivers is just so good. I feel like he's to a certain degree underrated. Awesome. Well, I can't think of any other potential matches right now. Maybe something between Dominic Mysterio and Ray
on 0 Hour.
Yeah, 0 Hour.
Maybe the women's tag titles too. I could see them doing something with that. So.
Oh yes, I could see Jade Cargill and Bianca versus the Kabuki Warriors. As a match, because they have still technically 2 weeks, so they have 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns to get some matches in. I mean, it's kind of short, but I guess that's how Backlash always was. You know, like literally, it's literally like less than a month because WrestleMania was 6th and 7th, and Backlash is May 4th, so that's less than a month in between. And I mean, the meaning of Backlash is like it's a backlash, like it's an immediate like return. Historically, there were a lot of rematches from WrestleMania at Backlash. So yeah, let's jump into the undisputed WWE Championship. So we got Cody Rhodes, and then this past SmackDown we got AJ Styles beating LA Knight for his opportunity at the championship. Now, there is some history between Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
Just running the.
Were they? But yeah, I was gonna say they were both there at the same time.
No, AJ was already in WWE.
Oh, was that long? Okay.
But they were in the same faction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also, I think AJ Styles actually, I don't know who mentioned this on social media. I think it might have been Chris Van Fleet. But AJ Styles faced Dusty Rhodes for the NWA Championship, I think. And now he's facing Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Both Georgia boys, I think that's probably going to be something that they're going to talk up. I don't know what this is going to look like. If this is going to be just like a short-term plug, and again, because like this draft that's looming over, I think it'll change the trajectory of a lot of these feuds and people, especially if they like mix them up, you know. maybe that's what they're partially waiting on, for people to like be on the right brand before they get some actual stories going. So this might be just like a stopgap in between for Cody Rhodes. But does anyone think that AJ Styles is gonna win?
No.
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Like, what logical
Sorry,
reason
AJ.
would be for AJ Styles to beat Cody Rhodes? I'm trying to think. I can't think of one. I mean,
I
like,
can't think of one. It just doesn't make sense.
That would be hilarious, though. He
Not
loses
yet,
his
at
first
least.
title defense.
that would be funny. They're like, you know what? Let's just swerve for swerve's sake. Like, let's let's just have him lose the belt, because they're like, well, we just really like Cody Rhodes as the underdog, so let's just have him. Like, they're gonna want to have Cody Rhodes catch up to John Cena's 16 by having him like win it back 15 times in like 2 years, which would be kind of funny. But
Triple
He
H.
finished his story. He's good, so just take it back.
yeah,
Triple H just comes out with like a eagle and he smashes it with like a sledgehammer. Bitch.
that would be funny. I mean, I feel like there's just too many things that are outlined for the future, like Cody Rhodes versus The Rock. Maybe that doesn't necessarily need a title belt, but because that Raw after WrestleMania, they had that whole segment where, you know, I'll hold your, or I'll let you hold mine if you let me hold yours. Penis innuendo.
Pause.
Yeah.
I think that just kind of like based off of that, there is the potential and probably inevitability of Cody Rhodes going against The Rock for the WWE Championship. Now, if it's at WrestleMania or SummerSlam, I have no idea. Or maybe it's at Survivor Series. Just make Chicago a yearly Survivor Series. That'd be great. But yeah, I don't see Cody Rhodes losing this anytime soon.
No.
No one until maybe a Rock feud, and maybe he can beat him. I don't know, but it will be interesting. I think for Cody Rhodes, and maybe we can talk about this now too, because we were kind of joking about Roman Reigns getting these "We Want Roman" chants on this previous SmackDown. And folks were saying, oh, the fans are fickle and all that kind of stuff. Now, they are fickle, but I will also say, from my perspective, and the context was like Cody Rhodes wasn't in the ring when they were chanting that. It was the Bloodline with Solo and Paul Heyman, and he was trying to. Now, also, by the way, Solo is getting like Dominic Mysterio. When he's talking, they're doing the same thing. At least in that specific show, like they were giving him so much heat, and I think it's the combination of like it looks like he's going against Roman Reigns. He just beat the crap out of Jimmy Uso, so there's a lot of negativity, and it just looks like he's trying to like take it over. Although I still think The Rock is behind it, but. Yeah, he's getting a lot of heat. And I think the reason people were chanting, "We want Roman," was because Bloodline, oh, he's taking Roman's spot. That's why they're chanting it. But I think Cody Rhodes was interesting as an underdog. He finally did that, finishing the story bit. And now going forward, actually being the champion, what they do with him will be interesting, because again, like I don't know. Maybe he will flop. Maybe he won't be like a John Cena or whatever, and people will lose interest. I don't see that happening. But how do you guys see Cody Rhodes' popularity go from here? Going forward as champion. Do you think it's going to be successful?
I mean, my cynical
so.
side says that fans will just drop him like Andy throwing out Woody. I don't want to play with you anymore. That's what I think. But maybe that's just going to be strictly to the internet, because that's just going to be internet debate conversation shit. But general audience, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or he'll get the John Cena treatment as far as fans go.
Like, just let's go Cena. Cena sucks stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's gonna have a good run, and I think he's a good champion. I think, like as a character, like he can wear the belt good enough and stay face, and maybe it might get to that point where it'd be like Cena, where like we might get tired of him. Yeah, probably. That's the only way I could see it getting like tarnished per se. But I think as a performer, I think in the ring, on the mic, I think he's going to be carrying it very well.
Do you think that his babyface level can be sustained for as long as like a Hulk Hogan did? Because I think Hulk Hogan's like popularity, Hulkamania, that's like what, 1984 to 92? That's almost a decade. That's like 7 years of people like really liking Hulk Hogan. Do you think? I don't think that Cody's popularity can sustain that long, nor do I think he's going to be champion for that long either. Because in 7 years, be 47. I mean, I guess that doesn't really matter. But
I think it can if he has the right opponent. If he could do for great storytelling, then sure.
Yeah.
Because that's why Hogan kept winning. He also had great other performers that were helping him put over, Right. And then actually I was just talking about it with Steve. I forgot about it. Because we were talking about the bloodline and that, Yokozuna was technically part of it. And how was it WrestleMania like 9 where he was the champion at the main event, and then like I forgot he was fighting Bret Hart, and then for some reason Hogan showed up and then won it.
And wins
he wasn't even in the match.
For whatever ungodly reason, yes.
Yeah. So
that was probably.
But no, as long as there's a good storytelling, I think as long and obviously WWE has got some of the best talent they've had, collectively. And they're just developing new great stars along the way. I do think Cody can definitely have a very good run for a while. But, the only thing I can see of it maybe being like that John Cena treatment where it's like, okay, we get it. We've seen it all already. Seen it enough,
Seen enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Dusty Rhodes. My dad is Dusty Rhodes.
I mean, even like Cody admits, like that got ran into the ground. Like he knows that was overplayed, and I think, it's to no fault of his own, because every single time an interviewer asks, they always bring up his father, and I'm sure in his head he's probably rolling his eyes because he keeps getting asked that same damn question, and I'm sure that is annoying. And like you said, I think Cody will be as popular. As a character and as a person, I think he will be a top guy for the rest of his career. Like, there's no way he's going back to mid-card or whatever. Like, he's reached that echelon. It'll maybe ebb and flow in terms of people's reactions, but as a top guy, I don't think he's going anytime soon. In terms of his babyface and his positive reactions, I think that will be entirely dependent on the kind of material he's given. I'm sure he's probably having some kind of creative freedom in these conversations, but I think it has to be buttressed by a good storyline, and people will react accordingly, because not everyone enjoys like a person who wins all the time. I mean, that's why John Cena was disliked, but I've also said in the past that Cody Rhodes as a character, as a person, as a wrestling background that is considerably different from John Cena's. The perspective of him as a top guy is different from like a John Cena who was like clean cut bodybuilder. Vince saw him as a top guy, and he was given that top guy status pretty early on. Like he was 25, 26 when he was like peak, John Cena, like when he was doing the Edge thing, spinner belt, he was like 25 or 26.
Economics chain gang.
Yeah. And Cody's 38 or something like that. Like he really scratched and clawed his way to finally get one championship belt, and be a top guy for the past 2 years, so it took him 15 versus like Cena's 5 or 6. So I think that there's an edge there in terms of people reacting. And again, the social media comments on all that kind of stuff, I don't look into that as much, personally. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think Cody Rhodes is going to lose anytime soon. You know what will be interesting, though, is is there a possibility for him to be a heel anytime soon, or do you think that's still a long way down the road?
Oh, way down the road.
I can't wait.
I think unlike Cena, they'll actually turn him heel at some point.
Yes, I could see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all right there. Like, you're wearing like American themed gear, A lot of people
you'd be the right guy to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like that, people cheered for this story, but you could also twist it in a way where people are like, "Oh God, yeah, like my father and all this stuff, I deserved it." Like
My dad.
you could twist it. Yeah, you could
My
twist it.
dad.
Did you know who he happens to be?
Colonialism, American colonialism, blonde-haired, Aryan race,
Lord White and Soft Crown.
vague, shades of neo-Nazism for some people's perspective, like the ideal white person. Like there's a lot there that you could work with.
So it'll be like some like new tag team coming in dominating WWE, and then they start beating up like Randy Orton, and then Cody will show up thinking he's gonna save him, and he just drops a leg on him.
Doesn't work for me, brother. He just says it in the mic.
Like,
Yeah.
all these Bullet Club dudes too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would be interesting. Honestly, like a lot of people make that comparison to Homelander, but I would love to see him with a Homelander character, like corporate, like superhero. If you guys watch The Boys at all,
Yeah.
I want to.
it's really good. But
I hear it's great. Yeah.
corporate superhero, like objectively, he looks like the top guy, but he's behind. He's a real racist. He has mommy issues. He killed like a plane of people. Or I guess I should have said unalive because it probably gets demonetized. On YouTube.
Unalive.
Murder.
Unalived people on a plane, and then blamed it on the people who were in there, and like he flew away. Like I could see like that Cody Rhodes character kind of be like that, because there's a lot of gold in this character from that perspective. So we'll all be tuned in, but yes, I think Cody Rhodes is gonna win and keep it.
Do you got the stones, H?
That I want to see.
You don't
also
have
feed
the
Triple H.
grapefruits.
Grapefruits.
Genetic jackhammer.
Crazy motherfucker.
So we've been touching
wrestling coming soon.
Yeah. Oh, see, there you go. Like I was in my brain, I was my hamster wheel was turning. Like, what would you even call it? And you're right, it would be called Grapefruits Wrestling.
Grapefruits Wrestling Federation.
Grapefruits Wrestling Federation.
GFWF.
Grapefruits Wrestling Entertainment.
He loves you when he names an unsaid inanimate object after you.
That's true.
Oh man.
True.
This will be clipped.
Yeah. Nice.
So we kind of touched upon this earlier as we were talking about like these feuds and how a lot of this is potentially dependent on how the draft turns out. So we're going to start talking about the WWE draft. It takes place on April 26th, and it'll continue on Monday Night Raw on April 29th. That's where, I don't know if it's going to be on NXT. I think it's just Raw and SmackDown. But NXT superstars are involved, so people from that roster can go. And I'm pretty sure Raw and SmackDown people can also go to NXT because they've done that in the past. So I think it's all up for grabs.
You need some work, kid.
What do you guys, so like it's 2024. It looks like they're kind of splitting the belts up, but even like last year when they did the draft and they split everybody up, we still had people jumping around, And so
we had to deal with Vince too, though.
That's true. So maybe in this era they will actually be very strict. But what are your general impressions of the draft as a concept? Do you think it is necessary in today's current environment in WWE? Do you like it? I'll just go around the room and I'll have you guys say your own opinion. But David, what do you think about just the draft as a concept?
I like it. It keeps two show it doesn't like oversaturate everybody, even though they do jump to other shows.
Right.
I think it, when done right, like I'd say remember when like the first set of draft happened, and then like after a while, like Stephanie McMahon took over SmackDown, and she was like, "Okay, you guys aren't just gonna keep running the Raw and SmackDown and
Yeah.
switch whenever the hell you guys want." And
Yeah.
then it like led to like the SmackDown 6 and like all that good shit. I
Yeah,
think
the
that's
Edgar
what it
Guerrero
could eventually lead to, but it will take some hard discipline. I think I think it'll do better for like the guys that are like say on SmackDown right now, but they lose time to like Cody or the Rock or even
Mhm.
like Roman segments. I think it'll elevate a lot of people. I think people moving from SmackDown to Raw will also like help out. Like I think LA Knight should be on Raw
Mhm.
just so we get an LA Knight segment every week.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, and I guess it's also dependent on who goes to Raw with him or who's on Raw. That'll probably determine. I mean, I don't think LA Knight's going anytime soon, nor will he not get TV time. But yeah, I'm curious to see if he goes on Raw, and I feel like he might. Like, I think the other factor to tie in, like, is this Netflix thing. CM
Yeah,
Punk kind of teased that it might not like be like PG or not
look at
necessarily
you.
like TV 14 where they're like flashing boobs and stuff, but being more loose with the language. I mean, they're already kind of starting it
Oh yeah.
already with the
Man,
blood and the language. But I agree with Triple H as a tool. Blood should not be consistent. Like I don't want John Moxley bleeding every match type stuff for me personally. I do think there is the law of diminishing returns where it's just okay, yeah, you stuck a fork in your head, you're like, oh, like you just did that last week. Like the wow factor goes away. If you look at WWE as a product, like it for in the past like 15 years, very rarely did you see that stuff. But when it happened, you're like, oh crap! Like when Brock Lesnar was going to town on freaking John Cena, I think, or Randy Orton, like he
Randy
was using
Orton,
elbows. Yeah, he was bleeding like a shit ton, and they thought he did it the hard way. And that like that sticks in your mind. But I can't like divide John Moxley's bleeding. Like I can't pinpoint a specific match where I'm like, do you remember that? I'm like, no, because it happens all the time. So
That's his
even
gimmick,
New
though.
Japan.
I'm curious to see what like I feel like his forehead must be looking like Abdul the Butcher eventually, like just complete beef jerky, because that's insane. But Dave or not David, Andres, what do you think about the WWE draft as a concept? Do you like it? Do you think it's necessary right now? What are your general
Um,
thoughts?
I actually used to not like it. I used to just kind of miss that. Well, back in the day, when the same storyline would carry over from Raw into SmackDown.
Hmm.
But I do feel it has become a necessity because they do have a gigantic roster now. So, like to David's point, it's just not oversaturating things either. It gives everyone a chance to perform and be on TV, explain the characters more thoroughly and stuff. So I think it is a necessity now. So I just didn't like that. I was actually the one thing I wasn't really a fan of was the whole teams thing when it became Raw versus SmackDown. I don't know why.
Like the
That one
Survivor
I was like,
Series matches
oh, invasion, like they're wearing SmackDown shirts and they're on Raw. I didn't that I kind of was like blah
or
about.
bragging rights?
Yeah, that one I
Yeah,
wasn't too fan. But overall though, yeah, I think it's necessary.
yeah, I mean, you guys give a fair point. And again, it's the execution and the idea of there being like this interbrand war, and they've teased it like they've teased this thing for a little bit, like especially between the general managers, like them being competitive. I think that's gonna be dialed up to 11 when this draft happens, and then afterwards, I think there will be potentially some like real storylines between Nick Aldis and Adam Pierce. So we'll see. But Chris, what are your thoughts on the draft?
Are you kidding me? Like, I think it's great because back in the day when you didn't have cable, you got to see Triple H on free TV. Like, what the fuck?
He was like, "Screw this!" What? And they only kept him on SmackDown for like a couple of months, I think, and then he went back to Raw.
But I liked that like early ruthless aggression era. I think they were on the cusp of like really running with it, but there was so much change stuff that started to happen where you would have some interesting superstars here, and you have to tune in here, and then all these feuds and all that. So I mean, I was a fan of the SmackDown versus Raw thing. They're gonna have to change 2K to SmackDown versus Raw again. Yeah.
I mean, you can't now because NXT is such a viable brand. So unless you do like
featuring NXT,
yeah, featuring NXT,
put the sticker on that bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I mean, I think with Triple H being at the Helmsley, I think he can do it right. I think because keeping it, if you do the exclusivity thing, I think it gives you more incentive. It's like, well, there's some interesting storylines happening here, and there's not a lot of like that crossover storyline stuff potentially. So you get to tune into Raw and SmackDown, whereas like Bloodline stuff might have like bled into Raw and vice versa and all this stuff, right? So I don't know. I mean, I could see it being cool. So
they did a draft last year, right?
Yeah.
See, like I think that was still technically Triple H's era.
Nope.
You don't think so?
It was Triple H's era for like 3 days.
yeah,
That's true. I mean, I get like that Raw after Mania. I mean, that was last. Yeah, that was last year.
That was grapefruits.
That was Grapefruits. I think I'm going to use that as his code name now. It's just Grapefruits. There were still remnants of that, and again, like literally like a week or two later, I think it was Shinsuke or one of those guys. Like you just got drafted, and then you were on this other show. So I'm like, what was the point of doing this whole razzle dazzle?
you're gonna have CM Punk jumping somebody on SmackDown and be like, "I'm not even a SmackDown guy. I'm from the other show."
You know, I could see them also do that as like a loophole, like, oh, these guys are free agents, because I think that's what they did last time. Like Roman Reigns was technically, I mean, like he had both belts, so you know, he should probably be jumping over. But now that there is a clear division, like there's a belt here, there's a belt here, and the deliberate separation of the tag titles, because otherwise, what's the point? If you
They've done it before.
Yeah, they've done it before. But
DX
again,
unified them.
I think
That was
that
a loopy old man.
yeah, again, I think that what it boils down to is they have hammered it home since WrestleMania 40 that this is a new era, and I think they are really serious about this, and that's why you have brand new tag titles, because they're going to stay on that show. And I hope that they stick to it, unless I guess creatively speaking, something deems it necessary. Like for whatever reason, maybe Cody is on Raw or on SmackDown, and Roman's on Raw. You know?
Do you think they're gonna do the brand exclusive pay-per-viewing too? Like this is the Raw pay-per-view. This is the SmackDown pay-per-view.
No, I think it'll just be like a mix again of like Raw and SmackDown shows. Like they'll be exclusive, but then they all come together.
Okay.
I don't think they'd be doing brand exclusivity that much, because that's what they did before, right? Like they would be like, okay, the SmackDown crew is going, they're doing their own tour, then the Raw crew's doing their own tour.
Yeah, that's how they would organize everything, like the house show loops and everything, all that.
Right. So I don't think it'll happen like that to that extent, that strict. I don't see that happening, but I do think, at least when it comes to storylines and feuds, fingers crossed that they will maintain some level of exclusivity. When it comes to NXT though, I feel like that is kind of a wild card, because it's like it's part developmental, but sometimes they also treat it as a third brand, because you get like Becky Lynch, showing up and fighting for the championship. I mean, Baron Corbin has been on the main roster, and then he went back on NXT. Karrion Kross and his whole crew just went back to NXT.
Fucking Final Testament trash ass B.
Although I think that Karrion Kross and that whole crew is actually hybrid, because I think they're on SmackDown and NXT technically.
Yeah, same with the Good Brothers.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see how he fleshes that out. If there will be people who be on both, I'd like for them to explain these things when he does it. So I feel like NXT is kind of like this. It does its own thing, and Raw and SmackDown are exclusive. And I'm fine with that, I guess, because it allows for main roster talent to work with younger talent. I mean, ratings boosts, working with someone who's more experienced. I mean, there's a lot of positives. So
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it
that.
with the new era. So yeah, I am very much looking forward to it. But safe to assume that maybe the current champion may be the only one that could cross over potentially still
hmm
for certain storylines. I don't know why, but I just see it still. Just that though. But it wouldn't be like obnoxious though. It wouldn't be like other people just crossing over. I feel like they're actually going to be like how you're saying. They're going to be a little bit more strict about it.
Yeah.
But maybe just for, I don't know, Cody would just cross over to SmackDown, or if he goes to Raw and be like, hey, like,
It would make it a special episode, I think, if they're like,
yeah, it'd be
oh,
like
we're
a
gonna
special
have
thing. Like,
the
we're
Raw
going to hear from Cody.
superstar or SmackDown
Yeah.
or whatever.
I mean, they could also set up as a pay-per-view, too. I mean, he could rival someone from there, you know?
Like Civil War stuff, or like, again, like a Raw versus SmackDown pay-per-view.
I don't
Survivor
think
Series,
you know.
I guess.
Yeah, I think maybe I think Survivor Series will go back to like maybe it's War
Yeah.
Games, but it'll be maybe a brand versus brand thing. But like make it mean something because it for when it was like Grapefruit's era, it was just like thrown together last minute with like a little build, like really nothing. They win some kind of trophy that they have for a week and then it gets forgotten about. Like there was a lot of like Men in Black, Grapefruit's man flashed the light to everyone on the TV screen and then you're supposed to like forget it ever happened. Like that was really frustrating as a viewer. And maybe because I watched it for so long, and maybe that's just trauma right there as a wrestling fan. You're used to a certain way of how wrestling works, at least I guess with WWE. And seeing Triple H's new production style, the stories and all that is a little jarring. And I'm like, wait, yeah, this is really good. Like, why wasn't it like this before? You just like don't know how good it can be. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, I agree.
Yeah,
I just agree with you with the whole direction that Triple H is going with everything. I'm loving a lot of it, to be honest. I'm not really like scratching my head at really anything, to be honest.
well, let's jump into the actual draft. So, if you guys, for our viewers and listeners, you can't see these graphics, but I did post the entire roster. We have our entire Raw roster. We have our SmackDown fellas. We have our NXT people, and NXT has a crap ton of people. Like that was like 2.5 worths of folks. And you'll see like some of these people have half NXT, like Karrion Kross, for example. He has a half NXT symbol, half SmackDown, because that's kind of how they treat him. Same with Paul Ellering and the rest of those fools.
And they do got a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are like announcers and stuff. Here's another. Do you think they're gonna do you think they'll have like announcers and commentators as part of the draft?
Yeah.
I hope not. I think that was
Yeah, I mean that'd be weird. But I mean, you got Booker T's on the roster on NXT, I see.
Well, he's a commentator.
Well, yeah, I'm saying, but like they're in that list.
Yeah, I mean, but like, because I'm saying that because they've done it in the past. Do you guys remember when JR was moved to SmackDown and he wasn't told?
worst day of his life.
Yeah, like they zoomed in on his face and he thought he was like getting rigged or something.
He's like,
Poor
"Are
guy.
you serious, bro?"
And again, like that was also a different era. Like there was a very specific aura that SmackDown was the B show and Raw was the A show. Now I think it's pretty even, although I personally feel like when it was Bloodline and even still now, SmackDown is kind of the A show. I also just like that it's 2 hours and not 3. But
yeah,
That is nice.
This
draft might cut down the 3 hours though. You know what I mean?
I mean, I get. Well, you know what? We'll see what what Netflix wants.
True.
When it comes to 3-hour shows, because I don't know how that's going to work at all. If it's going to be like TV, is there advertising in below, or is it just like because Netflix paid for it? Like, why would they need ads? Because they are streaming. I don't know how that's going to work. So we'll see. But let's just like look at this roster and use it as kind of like a measuring stick, and people that just come to your mind. Where do you think? Who's going where? Who do you think should be going where? There's some people that are no longer here, like in this share, who recently got released.
Not Gender.
Jinder and his tag team duo, I think they all got released. Do you think that? He says he quit. Then the people say that he got released. Do you think it's a storyline, or do you think it's real?
It might be storyline. I mean, maybe they're trying to do the kayfabe thing. You know, I don't know. It could be.
It could be. Yeah. Hard to say.
When he shows up in
His partner, though, I can believe.
The Outsiders show up to NXT.
I mean, they would. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but yeah. So when you're looking at this, just a reminder that, like, yeah, Jinder Mahal's not here anymore.
He might. What if he makes an appearance like during the draft itself? He comes out there, starts cussing like F-bombs and shit.
It'd be intriguing. I think he actually got released, though.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he got released.
All elite, bruv.
But I'm trying to think of like the current top stars that are on Raw, and if there's any reason for them to be moved to SmackDown. But again, then I'm thinking like, are the people on SmackDown going to stay on SmackDown? I think
everybody's just gonna be there's gonna be a healthy amount of moving around.
Do you think Cody Rhodes, because he's now a SmackDown star, do you think he's staying on SmackDown, or do you think they're moving him back to Raw?
You gotta be on
Which
Raw.
means that maybe Damian Priest would go on SmackDown, because there's no way they'd have two belts, right?
No.
They should just keep Cody on SmackDown.
I think that makes the most sense. What did
That's
they
actually
do?
something consistent.
Wow, good decision.
Well, I was just saying with the draft, that could be breaking up stables too. Because you're mentioning Judgment Day.
That was my next question. What did they do with stables in the past? Because didn't they draft him as a whole, right? Do you think they're going to do that this year?
I think so. I mean, before it would just be like you can draft them as a whole, or you could split them. Like that one year, New Day got separated,
Right?
was because Vince drafted fucking Woods and Kingston. Then the other place was like, oh, then I'll just take Biggie.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends on how they feel. Like they've done both. They've done the team, but most recently, I think the teams go together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Question: Do the talent know where they're going previously, or is it like legit surprises to those people?
They probably know, except for JR.
I mean, to your point, David, I think I think it's a mix. I think like top guys know where they're going. I think the lower tier people might not necessarily know where they're going. I mean, I think that I prefer that, just because it gives you that aura of like, oh, you know, I'm being drafted and I don't know where I'm going. But
They fake everything else. They could fake a reaction to the result.
yeah, I guess that's
Fair
true.
enough.
So I'm trying to think now. Rey Mysterio and Dominic are technically, they're on separate brands, but they are currently feuding. Do you think they're going to end up on the same brand?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if they go on SmackDown or Raw, though.
Put
Like,
them
again,
on.
again, it's like a lot of this ties to like stories. So I'm like, if you're currently, like, for example, like Drew McIntyre I don't think he can go to SmackDown without CM Punk, because that is clearly a feud. And if you split them and he goes on SmackDown, I go back to my former point of what's the point of the draft? So
Well, he's the free agent guy, isn't he? Isn't he like, oh,
that's what he's been called. But no, because he was a free agent, and you remember they did this whole
the
shtick. They did it with
contract
Jade
signing.
Cargill, yeah, with CM Punk, with Jade Cargill. Oh, he finally picked a show, and he said he's staying on Raw. So that rule exists. So again, it'll be interesting because I feel like if you see Drew move, then CM Punk is probably going to move. I feel like that we're going to have a lot of those kinds of things where there's like an existing feud. Or maybe, yeah, I mean, like feuds that look like they're going to happen, the other person's going to go. Like Liv Morgan, I don't think is going anywhere where Rhea Ripley isn't going. And if Rhea Ripley is going somewhere, then the Judgment Day is probably going to follow them, you know? At least that's what I look at this roster. I'm trying to look at the NXT people, and we've had a number of folks who were called up recently. We had Braun Breaker, who showed up. Tiffany Stratton was called up recently, and she looks like she's getting into the women's title picture. Well deserved, that's for
She'll
sure.
probably go against Bailey at Backlash.
Yeah, you're probably right. Or some kind of triple threat, because what does Naomi then do, you know?
Catering.
So who do you think? Oh, see, like Natalia's on NXT too. I guess like because they also want like to have like this quote unquote like teachers on there to feud with, which makes sense.
Shawn Michaels the SmackDown.
Yeah, the guy who's working on NXT is gonna go on SmackDown. Like that doesn't make sense. Who do you see from NXT going to the main roster? It could be SmackDown or Raw.
I'm looking at their roster. Let's see.
Yeah, I have to look at
I've
it.
already just picked who they needed.
Roxanne, I guess, maybe.
Oh, Roxanne Perez, yeah. Getting moved up finally.
Who's Axiom's tag team partner? Do you
Damn it.
remember? Having a brain fart, but maybe that tag team goes to SmackDown. I'm also thinking. I mean, Lexus King. I think he was on NXT for not that long, right? I think he might stay, but I could see him get called up just because it's like an easy. It's an easy get. Oh, you know, I'm Brian Pillman's son.
My dad is Brian Pillman.
Exactly.
Exactly. The battle of the dads.
Let's make a shirt that says "That's my dad."
And it's just Dusty and Pillman.
Yeah.
I think that'd be kind of funny, actually. So for me personally, maybe Lexus King. Ilya Dragunov? He's not officially on any Raw or SmackDown roster, right?
No,
I think he's going.
still got the belt.
That's true, but I think he'll be called up. He might lose it.
There's
an
rumors
NXT show.
Joe Gacy. He's kind of like a Bray Wyatt type weirdo.
Mm.
The guy in AEW.
No, Joe Gacy.
Oh.
He's in NXT.
So you think he'll maybe join like the Uncle Howdy faction, whatever that turns out to be?
Probably.
Broken Matt. I was listening to his shit. He wasn't confirming nothing, but he's like, yeah, I'd be down.
Yeah,
He's probably down for anything.
Call me
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah.
Well, you're saying how he's a free agent now and he wants to take his time and all that.
I don't know if Broken Matt Hardy as a character can work with what like a Wyatt type character is. Like I feel like Broken Matt Hardy was too comedic, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say-
Like I feel like the Wyatt character is more cerebral, and Matt Hardy's Broken Matt was more comedic. Like, didn't they have like a mannequin baby or something at one point? Like,
I mean, that's cerebral
with
as
his
fuck.
wife and stuff. Yeah, I guess.
Talks
But-
backwards like Yoda. That's cerebral.
I
Delete.
mean, I'd be intrigued because you know I'll trust in the H, but
Well, maybe they would need a court jester. Like, I mean, it's like you have the funny guy and then everybody else is serious.
I mean I guess you have R-Truth and Judgment Day, but Judgment Day is like half serious. I feel like they're still kind of like comedic. But that's a good one. What about Dijak? I feel like his clock is ticking
It'd be
as
good for him to move up.
a performer.
He's had really quality PLE matches for NXT for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, like if you put him on the roster, who do you see him go up against in his like first feud? I can't think of one. Maybe some kind of mid card title, I guess, for the
Yep.
United States or the Intercontinental. Do you think
Well, Ron Breaker.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
He's
fair.
SmackDown now.
Well, again, he's
Oh, is he?
SmackDown now. He could be Raw. He could be wherever Dijak goes. You know, that's the thing.
I thought he was
Everywhere,
going next
everyone moves everywhere. Oh, here's a
Yeah.
question. Do you guys think that any of the championship belts are switching brands?
No.
No.
And if they
Is it
do,
like evenly matched right now?
Yes.
Well, I
Yeah.
think well, I guess if Cody's on SmackDown, but if I could see them moving those guys, so they had his belt obviously goes there. Tag teams, I think, stay where they are because they were just revealed, but like United States, Intercontinental, the two big belts, I mean, they could be moving.
Yeah, I mean, like
If
for
they
me,
do move, they're just getting switched, I'd say.
yeah, because when when Charlotte Flair and Becky had to switch shows,
oh right,
they just threw the belts on the mat or whatever.
that's just confusing.
And then, like, it kind of killed the uniform of Raw has all their titles start with World, and then SmackDown, all their titles start with WWE.
That's true. I guess from like a message, like they'd probably just have them. Well, again, flip the belt like the other person would have to go, you know, to the other.
Just hand it
the other
off.
side.
Here you go, man.
Yeah.
Like a Pokemon
I mean,
trade.
I don't think there's a situation where like we have two like mid-tier titles or two top-tier titles on the brand. I don't think that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah,
I think I'm kind of looking at it from like also like a perspective like for Netflix, like they probably like, oh, we want these big guys on our show going into 2025. So like I could see them be like, oh, we want Cody Rhodes as our
Unplug
champion.
that link cable,
Like,
dog.
we don't want Damian Priest as our champion. Get that shit out of here. So I could see that happening because of that. Logan Paul maybe too. Like they'll put the U.S. title on Raw and then have Sami Zayn go to SmackDown. I could see that happening purely because Netflix is like, we want big guys. Where does Roman Reigns go? Do you think the bloodline as a whole gets moved? Or do you think those guys can be like, for example, like Jimmy Uso just got knocked the crap out of? I feel like he's probably at this point on his own island and probably can get moved around, and he's not connected to the bloodline, so he's probably free to move by himself. But do you think like the package of Paul Heyman, Tama Tonga, and Solo, are they
get drafted as a whole again.
And is Roman Reigns treated as part of the bloodline still, or is that kind of like up in the air right now? Because Paul Heyman's with them, and Roman Reigns is with Paul Heyman, so I feel like should be part of that package deal, right?
He is.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where they go. Like maybe I feel like wherever the bloodline goes, Cody Rhodes also goes. So maybe the bloodline's gonna go to Raw too, and they're just gonna flip it. They're gonna have Judgment Day on SmackDown.
Nothing.
Judgment Day, Damian Priest,
The Gable stable.
the Gable stable. I mean, the bunch of it could also be like, you know, the brand of up and comers. You know, I guess that's what but I mean, like they're main roster worthy.
B+.
But they're not. Yeah, exactly. B+ players. It could be like the SmackDown 6. Like I feel like a lot of people looked at that roster as inferior to Raw, like from like a visual perspective. Like people are like, oh, they got, you know, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, they have all these people, and they got the Undertaker who's always there, and
Rey Mysterio.
I guess Rey Mysterio. But it always just felt like they treated them as second rate during that time. So I don't know, but I don't see Roman Reigns and the Bloodline not being where Cody Rhodes is. So I feel like where he goes, they go too. Like there's so many things that are interconnected, which is great, but like from a storyline perspective for draft reasons, um, I don't know what they're gonna do. So here's the final part. I guess we can do. We can conclude this. The format of the draft, because it's kind of shifted in the past. Sometimes it was like the GM picks, then this person picks. We've had people do matches, and then that winner from that brand gets a pick. Do you think it's going to be general managers calling the shots, like on a microphone, like Ric Flair or Vince?
I think so, because they're trying to they've been working really hard to reestablish that like GM role. Like Nick Aldis is like a pretty hardcore GM, and then Adam Pearce has his own problems.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Ava Rain's going to be involved? Like, do you think people from the main roster are getting drafted to NXT?
Probably.
So there's gonna be like some weird surprise. Yeah,
There always is.
like a Baron Corbin or something like that.
Shotzi to NXT.
Yeah,
she's not really doing much.
Did she get hurt?
Yes, she got hurt. But even when she wasn't hurt, she wasn't doing much.
She was rivaling with where she was teaming up with like all the faces against Damage Control.
And they cut her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, there's this other thing is like there's so many factions right now. If they do the package deal, there's just like a lot of just chunks of people getting moved, and it's not as interesting because you just like LWO, they all go. Legado del Fantasma.
All 17 of them.
Yeah, exactly. All 17 of them. Legado del Fantasma, they all go.
I mean, LWO probably needs more TV time, so they should probably all get drafted as a whole.
That's true. You know what? I think I'm going to guess that everyone is up for Switch, and I don't think they're gonna do package deals. I think that's what's gonna happen. I think they're gonna be like breaking up factions, potentially, like people in Judgment Day. Like I'm honestly looking at this and thinking like, in terms of like storyline or logic stuff, like a lot of it will be like just groups being moved around instead of people. And these groups take up most of the roster. So
yeah, it would
I
really
think there might be just individual
interesting.
shakeups. Personally.
It'd be more interesting too if they did it that way, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this Bloodline story is so interesting. There's no way they get split up, right? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Let him cook.
Is The Rock on the list of people to get drafted? No, right?
He's the boss.
Yeah, he's the boss. He could go.
No, I know, but I mean, like, because I was gonna say, because he'll be like, I go where I want, But I was like, he's Bloodline too, so.
Yeah, I don't think he's listed as a roster member.
Okay.
As he shouldn't.
TKO.
What's that?
On TKO's website, he's listed.
Yeah, I mean, he's listed as a roster member in TKO. Yeah, he's got a staff profile picture. Yeah, no, he's above all that.
Cody calling him boy.
You know what? Maybe that's what it is. Maybe Bloodline will be separate from Cody, and The Rock will just be feuding with Cody, because The Rock can go. Now I'm thinking about this as I'm like speaking out loud. The Bloodline doesn't have to follow Cody because The Rock is currently feuding with Cody. So I think that Roman will be separate from Cody Rhodes. The Bloodline doesn't have to be tied in because they probably want Roman Reigns to be some kind of face eventually. And The Rock can feud and interfere.
Believe that.
He has beef with Cody. He can feud on Raw, for example.
Big dog.
He's currently trying to get Roman Reigns out so he could be on SmackDown. I think that's where that's headed, fellas. Personally,
okay,
probably right.
As I'm saying this live, so but I also think that everyone's up for a change. Any final thoughts before we hang up our boots? Any other final picks that you think are going to be crazy for the draft? From the top of your heads.
Triple H to AEW. Nah.
Yeah.
Terrorizing. Did you hear freaking what's his name? Fucking
Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee said something about
He called him-
terrorizing.
Yeah, he's the terrorizing thing. That was on purpose.
That was great.
That's funny. I didn't hear that. No. Wait, so Pat McAfee can get moved too, huh?
Well, you know what? I feel like he might, but I don't think he's going anywhere that Michael Cole isn't going to. So
Yeah.
I think they just like each other too much. I think they'd make them exception, but I don't think they're going to move announcers. Now that I'm thinking about it,
Bet you they
Do you
will.
think, do you think they would move
now that I
Corey
say
Graves?
it, they will.
Does Corey Graves vibe well with two of them? I know they're all three together when they announce, but I'm like, do you think if they moved him out, like?
Well, I feel like some of them are interchangeable, but I do like Michael Cole and Pat McAfee as a package deal.
Yeah, I do too.
King Booker put his ass on SmackDown. Hell yeah.
No,
Should.
no.
What, Booker T?
As an announcer?
Chucky
I don't know.
Ducky Quack Quack.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're not moving as a announcer. You're moving him as a full-time roster member.
Yeah. He's like, all right, put the boots on, man.
First
So-
final
He's
one.
dumb.
SummerSlam, and they might do some shit like that. They're like, no, you're actually a roster now. You're on the roster now.
No, you're actually.
Now you
you're
gotta
gonna be
wrestle.
full-time wrestling again.
Retire in SummerSlam.
Yeah. He retired after the Rumble, right? That's what he did. He jumped back in for the Rumble, and he's like, "Actually, I'm done." The few minutes I was in there, I was like, "You know what? I realized I was actually done, and I didn't want to even be in here."
Yeah.
He's got to put over his own promotion. You know what I'm saying?
All right, so I guess that's the shocking final pick from us is Booker T for one final run.
Go ahead.
That's it.
Final run.
Take it to the sheets. You fucking
There you go.
orcs.
That's
Wash
good.
your ass while you're at it.
Wash your ass.
There you go.
Dude
All right.
wipe.
Brought to you by Dude Wipes.
Brought to you
All
by
right. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of Chi-Town Shoot Podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us, and leave your feedback. Tune in next time for more wrestling madness. Until then, keep marking out.